at times, but I'd have it.
You know, instead of talking about Maroon 5, I want to talk about this, because meanwhile, whatever. The night before, Saturday night, a great night, because you had that Foo Fighters concert, the super Saturday night show with Run the Jewels and the Foo Fighters at Atlantic Station in Atlanta, a sold-out show that was live-streamed via Twitter. I want to bring this up. The Foos brought out a bevy of special guests. It was a great night. Tom Morello was there, Zach Brown. In fact, Tom and Zach joined the Foos for a cover of Black Sabbath's War Pigs. Jane's Addiction frontman Perry Farrell was there. Even Roger Taylor of Queen, who joined alongside the Foos for their now standard fare cover of Under Pressure. So a great night for them.
Look, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the Maroon 5 thing, because who the hell would think that I would care, or anybody remotely into rock would care about that halftime show. But here's what I find interesting, a couple observations having watched it. It's getting killed across the board. Like most people that even love that music and love Maroon 5 are killing it on social media for what they view as a very uninspired performance, and Adam Levine singing flat and what have you. Look, I don't need to explain to my audience that that music is so not me. It's not even funny, to the point. And I honestly, I can't stand Maroon 5 just because I just hate that kind of music. It's so wimpy, and the guy's voice is nasally and whiny, and there's a bunch of auto-tune or whatever's going on half of those recordings. It just sounds ridiculous. Nothing I like about it whatsoever, any way, shape, or form, okay? That being said, it is what it is. You can't argue with the fact that they've had a lot of success, they got a lot of airplay, they got a lot of hits. So what happened at the Super Bowl was not at all anything out of the norm for me. Like that's what I expected, because that's what that band is. And of course, every Super Bowl, they've got a crowbar in. Can the Super Bowl once just have a band play their set and not have to crowbar in 1, 2, 3 other people kind of jumping out for 60 seconds, dancing around and running off? I mean, if I was a fan of those, I don't know. That music and that genre of music is so removed from what I consider to even be music, I can't even begin to talk about it in that way. So maybe I'm missing something. But if I was a Maroon 5 fan wanting to hear those songs, I wouldn't want a bunch of other people crowbarring in and doing whatever sort of rapping, which was obviously, did the NFL not know the guy was going to curse? They were dropping every 4th word on the dump. Like, don't you know? Didn't you vet that out and say, okay, I don't know what was going on. It was a mess. But here's the thing. It was no worse than I thought it was going to be, judging by who they booked. And I don't know how much of Adam Levine's vocal was really live, because we talk a lot about a lot of rock bands playing to tracks. It's extremely prominent with lip syncing and stuff going on in pop music. I've talked about this 100 times. People went crazy when Ashlee Simpson was busted on Saturday Night Live. Now it's the norm.
This is a Sirius XM.
Here's the thing. It was no worse than I thought it was going to be, judging by who they booked. And I don't know how much of Adam Levine's vocal was really live, because we talk a lot about a lot of rock bands playing to tracks. It's extremely prominent with lip syncing and stuff going on in pop music. I've talked about this 100 times. People went crazy when Ashlee Simpson was busted on Saturday Night Live. Now it's the norm. Now it's just accepted. And now, unfortunately, it's all over in rock music too, which cannot and should not happen. But that's another story. But it looked like some of his vocal was live. He probably had a track running under him, because there was times he was singing a lead vocal and it was like doubled. And obviously, there's only one of him. But the whole thing was pretty much what I thought it was going to be. So I find it interesting that so many people are killing it, given that that's what I've always seen from that guy in that band. And, it was what it was. I think that a lot of people are talking about him ripping his shirt off, which was his striptease act the guy comes out, jacket, wife beater under the jacket, whatever. He's got his look, right?
Yeah.
And then with each song, he stripped down a little bit to the point where he took his shirt off, which seemed strange and forced and out of character for that setting. Like, he's obviously not too hot, Meaning temperature-wise, that he has to do that? Like, so, wow, he wasn't even breaking a sweat. It was some sort of statement. Now, here's the other thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of us that will get angry at a guy like that ripping his shirt off. Why? Because as we sit there with nacho cheese dripping off our fat guts, we're secretively very annoyed that we don't look like that with our shirts off. So let's call it like it is. 90% of the guys watching the Super Bowl as they were having their 55th buffalo wing yesterday were annoyed that they were sitting next to their wife or girlfriend at this guy cut and chiseled dancing around with his shirt off.
Well, you know what?
So there's that.
You know why
but
people are...
But the inappropriate, but the point about it, because I joke with Phil Collin from Def Leppard about this all the time, because Phil plays 90% of the time oiled up with his shirt off, okay? And I've often said to Phil on and off the air, if I put the discipline in and look like that with my shirt off, I'd walk around now in New York City with my shirt off in February. Because you damn well better appreciate it if you're going to put that much work in. But the thing the problem I had with it was it just seemed out of character. Like, why on the Super Bowl stage did you feel the need to do that? It just seemed strange. It did not seem like the right setting to have done that in. But the whole thing was a debacle. I mean, if you're a rock fan, it was devoid of anything for you to connect with.
People are...
I don't know. It is what it is. What did people expect from that lineup of bands?
You book a mediocre band, you get a mediocre show. No,
look, Ed, here's the other thing I'll say. Okay, and I make no apologies about this. Everyone knows, and I own it, and I own it to a T, and I'm proud of it. I am defiantly a rock guy, right? So I know some Maroon 5 songs. How could you not know moves like Jagger? I mean, you can't not hear that stuff, right? I didn't realize they had that many hits. Like, all the songs that they did, I actually knew. Not that I own the records, just from hearing it in a supermarket or whatever. So I didn't even realize they had that. I didn't realize like 2 or 3 of those songs were them. I just thought it was anyone else. So there's a lot. The guys had a lot of success. They've got their place in the pop world. The guy is a star. I get all that. But the most shocking thing to me, nothing shocked me about that performance at all, except for how many people who love that stuff are shitting on it today. That's the biggest takeaway. Like, I don't know what he did that he didn't do normally, what they were expecting that he didn't deliver, is my point.
You know what? Something was lacking. I don't know what it was. I don't know if they even have it. 2 things I want to point out. First, people are taking him to task. They're complaining about the double standard because back in 2004, Janet Jackson was effectively turned into a social pariah for flashing one of her boobs for a split second, and this guy's prancing around with his shirt off. So
come on. That's just idiotic. I mean, everyone knows, no matter how PC the world wants to get, female nudity is viewed as differently as male nudity. Come on. I mean, that's just idiotic to try to make that comparison. You can walk, a guy can walk down the beach with his shirt off. A woman can't. Now, you want to change those standards in society, go for it. But that's just idiotic to make that comparison. God.
And funny enough.
I mean, anything else on the Super Bowl? I didn't see the Foo Fighters thing. Was it on TV?
Well, that was on. It wasn't affiliated. It wasn't part of, because you had that big Bud Light Super Bowl music fest. The Foo Fighters thing was unaffiliated, but it took place. It was broadcast on DirecTV and streamed via Twitter on Saturday night.
And what about the Aerosmith performance? Was that anywhere?
No, that was not televised, but that was part of that big, to-do. They had Aerosmith, Post Malone, I think Cardi B and Bruno Mars played the night before on Saturday night.
But Aerosmith's thing, I saw their set list, interestingly, was a full show.
Yeah.
I thought Aerosmith was going to be 2-3 songs. They actually did a full show. It was a full set. Wherever they did that, because I'm always interested in the Aerosmith set list, being a huge Aerosmith fan, because I like to see how many deep tracks they do. And as usual, I mean, they had to put some balance in there. There were 1 or 2 nuggets, but for the most part, it was a mix of the big, the biggest 70s songs, and obviously, a lot of the big 80s, 90s stuff. But I didn't see that aired anywhere, so I wasn't sure if that was an air thing or just a private Super Bowl thing.
No, but they booked that. It was at State Farm Arena, which is the big basketball Big basketball arena there in Atlanta.
Yeah, and as far as let's real quickly mention the game, a snooze fest,
Right?
Beyond belief.
It was the perfect halftime show for the right game.
Yeah, I couldn't. I changed my flight to get down to Florida yesterday to be here early enough to see it, and I literally almost dozed off in my room. And I'm a massive NFL guy, and I'm like, this is like the most boring thing ever.